everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very special guest that I've been looking forward to this interview for the longest time. I have Emma with me. She is a very talented wedding and branding photographer. She's an entrepreneur. She's a mom of two. She's a creative soul. We've actually been talking about having this interview a year ago, but well, that didn't happen because life got in the way. But you know what? Better late than never. Here we are now. Yeah. And I can't wait for you to meet her. She has a lot of wisdom to share with you. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So hi, Emma. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Veronica. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to finally do this.
And let's just dive into your life. Tell people who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you for that introduction. And also, I feel like you already said all the things I would normally say. I will, I'm a wedding and lifestyle and branding photographer. I'm based in Ottawa, but I'm actually from Toronto. So I moved to Ottawa about a year after I started my business. And then I've been basically in Ottawa ever since. And today I'm actually celebrating 10 years in business, the day I started my business.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So, thank you. I know. I can't believe we're here. But yeah, so I'm also I consider myself someone who's multi-passionate, which is I feel like every entrepreneur says that, but I try to slow down with all the ideas I have. But what I do creatively, on the side is another Instagram account, which is a food and lifestyle blog. And I just share my life there as a parent. And I turn the classic foods that I grew up with into plant-based versions of those foods. And I'm an Enneagram type 4. I don't know if that means anything to anyone, but I feel like that says a lot about a person.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I totally relate to that, being multi-passionate. And it's because once you get the taste of it, I personally got addicted to challenges, just figuring out what I can do and just exploring different things. With my first business, I started with an actors agency, and now I'm doing modest activewear, and that all came from just exploring and figuring it out and following my intuition and my interest. Yes. So I totally get that. And your blog sounds amazing. I need to check that out.
It's just on Instagram right now. There's an intention of doing an actual site eventually, but I keep having to remind myself that it's for fun.
Oh, you'll be surprised.
Not a business, right?
Yeah, but you know what? You can do so much. Yeah,
I know. Maybe eventually, but it's right now it's my outlet. So I'm not putting too much pressure on myself for it.
No, you got to go with the flow. Okay, let's look at your photography. How did you get it started?
Okay. I mean, it's not it's not a wow story. It's, I think, a very, very common story. I basically I love photography. I actually started in high school. And then I just kind of did it as a hobby. I actually started with film. Actually, the first photo I took was with a pinpoint camera, which is literally a cardboard box with a hole in it, and then a pinhole, not pinpoint. And it's really cool. So anyway, that got me really in love with it, and just the whole developing film and everything like that. I kind of my friends and my family knew I did it as a hobby. So, eventually they were like, can you take photos for us? And I did. So I kind of stumbled my way into turning it into a business. It wasn't the idea of creating a business from the outset. So I did that. And as I was thinking about this too, I remembered that I don't think I ever did a single shoot for free. From day one, I charged my worth. And I think I even charged more than I probably should have charged, but I was I don't want to undercharge and, shoot myself in the foot and be unable to raise my prices later. But I think only for my sisters is the only shoots I did kind of to practice. Good on past Emma for doing that.
That's very good. A lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people think that they need to do it for free for a certain period of time to get experience. But the truth is, when people get something for free, they don't particularly value it.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Especially if you're trying to build a business, it's always good to start charging your worth. So good instincts there.
Thank you. I will say that I probably like over delivered, and like I was like delivering prints and posters and all the files and like a CD and everything, because back then CDs were it was only 10 years ago, but I did do that. And honestly, it's like an intuitive thing for me that I just was like, either I charge my worth or I do it for free, right? Like I don't ever believe in like discounting so severely, because, and again, like you're putting yourself in a position where you can't really come back from that without like people getting super upset, and that might also affect the way you view yourself as a creative at the end of the day.
Yeah, I really like that you said that you over delivered. And in business, like I've also learned along, all of my ventures that customer comes first. If the customer invests in the service and the product, customer comes first. It's good to, I think Jenna Kutcher, she says things, what does she say? Under promise, over deliver. And I've been doing that in business, and you've been doing that as well. And that's such a great strategy, because that's how you leave a very good impression. And, converting customers again is much easier than acquiring a new customer. So you gotta do a good job when it comes to your service, so that they continue, investing in your services and just really trust you and keep coming back again and again.
And word of mouth too, like telling their friends.
Exactly.
But I actually have a question for you. I know you're interviewing me, but I know you do, have you seen a difference in that kind of concept of like under promise, over deliver for product versus service? Because I know you've done both.
It works exactly the same. It works, honestly, it works exactly the same. I've done that with photography. I also have a photography background, but I did headshot photography. So I'll just, deliver more photos than promised, deliver like very quickly. And I've realized that the returning client rate was very high because of that. Same goes for, my business. Sometimes I just, upgrade first-time customers to express shipping, or, if they have a concern, I get back to them within like a couple of hours. I just do whatever I can to make the experience of, dealing with me and my business as smooth as possible. Some people will appreciate it. Some people won't notice, but it's fine. I don't have that expectation. I do what I can and, do the best that I can for my customers, and how they react to it, that's on them. Most of the time, the reaction and the appreciation levels are very high, and they, come back again and again and invest in me and my business. And that's always very rewarding for sure.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. I was really curious about it, because I don't have any product-based businesses. Like I had for like a little bit, but I wouldn't know, like wouldn't be able to compare it. So thanks for sharing that.
No, it's always good intentions. Like what goes around comes around. And I truly believe that.
Yeah.
So let's dive into, like, you've been at it for a decade now. And so what were some unexpected challenges that you experienced on your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh my gosh. So, entrepreneurial overall is it's so much more work than you could ever imagine, which I'm sure it's the whole, like, I quit my 9 to 5 so that I could work 24/7 myself.
That's so true. That's so true.
And I think probably just balancing being a parent, because I became a parent in that time, right? 6 years ago, being a parent to one, then to two, and then managing everything else, that, like, from the entrepreneur side, it's been really, really quite hard. And also not letting yourself fall into the trap of like literally overextending yourself in so many ways. And then burning out, right? So, I think everyone learns that the hard way, and I would really prefer people didn't learn that the hard way anymore. That's definitely a challenge. And specifically depending on the kind of photography you do. So I got into weddings, right? So that meant like evenings, weekends, they're just gone. They're taken over by work. And that meant my husband, he's like, when he's working, I'm like kind of off, right? Like during the day, I'm doing other things with the kids. And then when I'm working, he's with the kids. So like we never get breaks, right? So it's just been madness, right? So I think that's something like I really didn't think about when I first started doing weddings, about how they would take over all of my like downtime. And it's like the opposite to everyone I know in my life, right? Everyone who works 9 to 5s or like daytime schedules. And to be honest, most people do not understand. They're not really understanding about it. And it's not like with bad intention. It's just like they don't get it. And they think, oh, you're an entrepreneur. You can set your hours. You can decide when to do these things. But like when I'm taking time out of my schedule, maybe to see you or whatever that is, that means that I might end up like losing sleep or whatever it is, just to make up for that work. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely like definitely relationships have suffered because of that, for sure. I won't lie.
Yeah, well, that's the reality of things. Some people will either get what you do and support you either way, or they'll just, stay behind because, it's not on you to, like, if you're in the space of growth and you're following your passion and you're doing something that really fulfills you as a person, you don't have to stop that or sacrifice your own passions just to fit what other people have, what other people's expectations are of you. Like, it's okay. You either keep up or get left behind. Like, it is a little bit of tough love, but if you're in the space of growth, like, you shouldn't be dulling down your light just to keep other people comfortable.
Yeah, I agree with that. Of course, I agree with that. And at the same time, it's like, sometimes when it's like family members, you're like, it's like you have to be educating them on the topic too. And it can get to the point of being like, it's so hard to balance the two. And like, just get like, you want people to just give you grace for the fact that you're also learning, right? Like as an entrepreneur, like when I first started, I had no idea, again, like I said, it would be taking over all my time. And I felt like for a long time, balancing it was super hard. And it's still some days very hard. So just giving that grace, even if you don't understand it, even if you don't agree with it, just say like, just respecting someone's like kind of wishes and what they tell you without kind of trying to make it, it's not personal is what I'm trying to say. It's not personal at all. Right.
I get that.
And people do tend to take it personally. So you just like, I think that can, with a lot of entrepreneurs and especially creative types, right? Like when you're like creative, you also are like, probably like more on the end of like wanting to like, you want to share your art, you want to share what you do. You also want like that almost like acceptance and like validation maybe from like people seeing it and being like, wow, because like you've turned your art into a business. So people's opinions are very important to you.
Yeah. I get that. I get that.
But yeah, you do get to a point where you're like, I'm so sorry. Like I can't apologize for just having the schedule. And please understand that or stop trying to help me about it.
Oh yes, I get that. And yeah, with family members, I think like you said, it's important to communicate and explain and do it really well and with love and compassion. But still you gotta do what you gotta do.
Sometimes it's hard to explain, right? Like for me, I know for a long time I wasn't like, that's the part of overextending myself. Like I wasn't explaining myself properly because I'd be like, okay, I want to not let these people down. So I would say yes. And then I'm saying yes. And I'm saying yes to everything. And at the end of the day, there's like resentment building, right? So learning boundaries too with myself was important, as any entrepreneur should be learning if they don't already have that in place.
Yeah. Otherwise it's just, it's very, very stressful. It's just, it's not very healthy for your mental health. And and also I find that when you do work from home, like, because you'd be editing your photos, right? And like you need that uninterrupted time. And because we're like, but you're at home.
But you're here,
yeah, but I'm working.
Like it's really a challenge for sure.
I'll share you a trick that I've learned with my toddler.
Oh, yeah,
I've realized that he wants my love and attention, but he doesn't want it 24/7.
Yeah.
I've done a little experiment and I've realized that if I give him about 10 to 15 minutes of undivided attention, his cup gets filled and then he's happy to go and play on his own for a while. So I've kind of, I've learned like, but I make sure the attention is undivided. I don't touch my phone. I play with his blocks with him, and I'm so present, and he loves it. Or we go and we'll bake some cookies. He loves it. And then after that, I can go and work for a couple of hours, and he's happy to carry on with his own thing. And so I've just noticed that if he comes to me, then he really needs me. Then I was like, yes, it breaks my flow, but my kids are this little for very short amount of time.
Agreed.
So I'm like,
Agreed.
I kind of drop everything. I give him his attention. I give him exactly what he wants. And then he's happy. I actually had fun with my toddler, and then I can go back in and get some more work done.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's been working for me.
that's so true. And it's like literally what I notice with my children too. Like if you just give them actual undivided attention, it's also so much easier than like fighting them in a way, like being like, oh, can you come back in 10 minutes? Cause just let me finish this thing. Like you might as well just succumb to it.
Yeah, because they don't care.
With the flow, as you said before. Yeah, because they don't know. And
they don't care about your deadlines.
At the end of the day, like things can wait, right? Like we do, like, yes, we do have some flexibility as entrepreneurs. Yes, we have deadlines and stuff like that. But if you have like a good, if you've built your business the right way too, or like kind of made the changes that are needed for you to be able to do that, then it's possible, right? So it's so important what you're saying. And it's so funny because our pediatrician actually gave us the same advice when my son was born and my daughter was like wanting all the attention too. He like, just give her 15 minutes, undivided attention, and she will be totally okay. And it really does work like a charm. So, and I'm glad you kind of like brought it up again. So that's nice.
So you've mentioned, wedding photography and how much time it takes. Also, I find that wedding photography is particularly nerve-wracking because with me, I did a couple of weddings and I swear I developed some gray hair, honestly. With headshot photography, if something goes wrong, oh, sorry, my SD card malfunctioned. Let's get you back in and let's get some more headshots. With wedding, you can't kind of that kind of pressure. I really didn't enjoy it. So how do you deal with that kind of pressure? Like, because weddings are stressful. Do you like shoot on multiple cards, or like what are your kind of tips when it comes to dealing with that kind of pressure, and also helping yourself go through it like mentally? Because I've really struggled. That's when I realized that wedding photography was not for me.
It's not for everyone, I will say that for sure. And I know a lot of people get drawn in. They're like, oh, like there's like, cause like it's a higher price point. But it's still ultimately the amount of work justifies the price point. So do you mean like technically the pressure, like my gear wise, like how I'm backing up and how I'm shooting, or like just emotional, mental pressure?
Both. I honestly, because you just I even tell you a very, very quick story. On that first wedding that I agreed to, I was so consumed by shooting. I didn't want to miss a moment because every moment is precious. I was shooting and I was backing out, and I knocked the table with the cake on it. I didn't fall, but it could have been the disaster. It didn't fall. It didn't fall. It's fine.
Okay, I was
but there was it was a mini heart attack there, and I was just like, after that,
that's where the gray hair came from.
Yeah, probably. I was just like, not the cake. But you're so consumed.
Of all things, it'd be like a classic movie, right? Like.
I know. It's just like so me as well. I'm like the clumsiest person ever. It would have been very in character, but would have been very bad.
I'm glad nothing happened. I'm glad you got that.
Me too. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
Oh my gosh. Say that. Oh my gosh. Okay. So let me start by the technical side. Basically for shooting, when I first started, I didn't understand that I needed to be like backing up and all of that stuff. Cause again, like I got into it kind of by accident, never really thinking it would be full time. So, now I shoot with dual cards. So like all cameras, most of like the professional cameras, like full frame, have dual slots for cards. So I just shoot with 2 cards, and one of them is duplicating the other one, because then, so you're always having 2 copies of everything you're shooting. And always have backup cameras, backup lenses, backup batteries, and chargers and everything with you. So my kit is pretty like complete now. Like I remember when I first started, I would be like, oh my God, what do I need to bring to weddings? I sometimes used to go rent like every lens that the store had and just take them all because I was like, I don't even know, right? And that's the thing with experience. The more experienced you are, the more you know kind of like your shooting style, your approach, kind of you'd be able to anticipate all moments of the day so you kind of know what gear to be using when. But I didn't know that at first. Oh my gosh. I remember I went to the store and then to pick up the rentals and then he's like, oh, you're the one who rented everything we have. And I was like, oh yes, that's me. I didn't realize that I like probably shouldn't have done that. But then again, who's he to say what I should and shouldn't do? Yeah, so just having backups of everything. And then also when it comes to files, I always back up when I get home usually. No matter how late it is, I'm backing up on my external hard drive, on my local hard drive, and on my cloud and on the NAS. Like, so I have another separate system. It's just like hard drive sitting downstairs in the basement.
That's
that
very
also
reassuring.
have the files, and then they have like a mirrored hard drive. So if one fails, the other one has a copy. So it's a lot of backup. But that's important. And I don't ever erase my cards until I've actually delivered the files. So which means I have to have a lot of cards, and not everyone does that. But I find peace of mind in that, just in case all of those go wrong, at least I still have the card. Because once you format a card and shoot over it, you can't ever retrieve any files from it. So that's what I do from the tech side. And then for the emotional part, it is a lot of stress because you just know like this is someone's like one wedding day, right? I believe a huge part of having confidence in shooting a wedding day is having clients that really trust you. Whenever I've had clients that like, especially when I first started, like they clearly hired me for my price. Okay, my skills were there, but like that didn't matter to them as much as the price, right? So it's like for them, they were like, okay, I'm paying you, $500 for this wedding, right? And then they kind of want to micromanage you. It's so bizarre, but I feel like people who are paying you like very little. And that's not to say that like, this is like, obviously like, I don't want to be generalizing, but that was my experience, that they would try to micromanage everything that I did. And then like when I started to develop my brand and all of that, and like people started to really trust me, that's when people stopped trying to micromanage what I'm doing. Like I haven't seen like a shot list of every single shot they want in like years, right? Like whereas at the beginning they would send me like, oh, here's like something they got off Pinterest, like please get all of these shots on the list. And that is so stressful because you're like, what if I miss one of the shots, right? So I preemptively tell them like I will send them questionnaires and be like, here's the things we're going to shoot and what are the group shots you want and stuff like that. But I also generally like will tell them like, please don't send me those lists because they're literally one size fits all and they might not be for you, right? But like this is what couples sometimes believe is necessary for a wedding. But yeah, so I do a lot of prep beforehand so that once I already know kind of what the day is going to look like. I'm sending questionnaires, as I said. I'm doing like a pre-wedding call with the timeline. I help consult on the timeline as well. And then I have a really good idea of how the day is going to go, where I'm going to be at every point of the day, like down to like every half hour. And that really, really helps for me because I'm really not the kind of person that can take on a lot of stress. It's so weird that I can do weddings easily, but now that I've been doing them for so long, I'm like, this is like, I can do this in my sleep, right? But the first wedding I shot, I was sweating the entire time. The entire time I was sweating and clearly like stressed out. And the bride was like, are you okay? Like, I'm fine, because I was so concerned with just capturing the moment. I wasn't even like thinking about anything else. I was just worried about capturing that and also not looking unprofessional, right?
Yeah. Oh, I really love your process. Like, it's very streamlined, like honestly good for you. I love systems and I love processes. I want to be prepared. I don't want to be like surprised, like, but it's really good. Like that's how when you take extra care the chances of you messing up, they going down.
Yes.
Things still can
Yes.
happen,
It's
like
true.
you knocking over the wedding cake, potentially.
Like, that stresses me out, like, even though it wasn't me.
I know. Oh my gosh, yeah. But yeah, once you're prepared, once you take that extra care and think about the potential case scenarios that might or might not happen, but you are
Yeah.
still prepared for it, like having extra gear, extra cameras, extra lenses, extra cards, extra batteries.
Yeah.
Then yeah. Oh, I have another fun story with a second wedding
Please
that
do
I did.
tell.
I only did a couple of they were cutting the cake, and my flash ran out of batteries. I had to
Oh
replace my
no.
battery. And I literally told him, "Hold up!" I screamed across.
That has happened to me before. That has happened to me before.
Like, "Hold up! I need to replace my batteries. We need to get this in the can."
But you know what? That's the great approach, I think. Or you could just make them cut the cake again, pretend for pictures. Because it has happened to me before. It's like you're like, okay, great. Because usually the cake cutting is at the end of the day. Like basically like you're like 5 more pictures and I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the flash inevitably is like, that's it, I'm out of juice. And you have to put fresh batteries.
Yeah.
Like, so it's good that you told them to stop, because also when I first started, I was way too scared
Mm-hmm.
of like, again, looking like I don't know what I'm doing, to tell them like, stop, I didn't get that shot, let's redo it.
Mm-hmm.
But whereas at the end of the day, like if I don't do that, I go home and I'm like culling the photos, I'm like, oh, I wish I just said that in the moment.
Yeah.
It would have saved myself so much trouble and stress. So
That's great
that's
advice.
good that you did that.
If you guys working, whether it's photography or you guys in the service business, always speak up. Always speak up. It's always better to be like, hey, can we do this again? Or, let's reshoot this, rather than, going back home, going through what you got. And then that they'll be like, oh, do you have any pictures of the cake? And you'll be like,
Yeah.
that's what I have. Bye.
Yeah. You're putting it's very much like, it's very much like doing something for the future you, right?
Mm-hmm. Very, very true. Okay. I would really love to dive into your Instagram as a photographer and how you market yourself. So what are some tips when it comes to sharing content as photographer? Because what I've noticed, you showcase your work, but you also have that personality there, which I really love. You insert yourself in the process, which a lot of photographers feel like. If you go to a lot of photography pages, it's only their work. And when I look for photographers, like it takes me a lot of digging to actually find out who the person behind the camera is. So what influenced you to share the content that way? And do you have any tips for photographers out there, and when it comes to sharing their content on Instagram?
What influenced me really was I just felt like, especially with my brand, it literally has my name in it, right? I was like, my brand is all me. I didn't choose to go like studios or anything like that. So because of that, I knew that I had to actually be in the actual brand itself. In terms of that, I just knew that it was important to me to also, for my clients, to relate to me and kind of like be able to get along with me. So I wanted to put myself in the brand, because I know a lot of photographers will be like, professional only put your work out there. Don't put any personal stuff. Like, don't talk about your pregnancy. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. Like, they just are always so concerned with telling you how you should or shouldn't run your business. And I just felt like, especially with Instagram, and I had Instagram and social media way before I had a website. So I was really relying on that to drive my leads and for people to find me. So I wanted to infuse myself a lot. And there will be times that I'll share so much more about my personal life and then less about business. And then other times that I don't. It just really depends. And I don't really stress myself out about it. I really, really like that, because I think through that I've found clients who really like, they want to work with me as a person too. Like, because my skills are one thing and my portfolio is one thing. But I'm not going to pretend like no one else can take photos like me. Like everyone else can take, like, technically, right? Like the colors and the editing, all of that stuff. Like people can, right?
Yeah.
But I think what sets photographers apart and businesses apart is also like you as a person, especially when it comes to any kind of portrait photography. I am with you and I'm taking your photo, and it really is important that you are relaxed, are yourself, you feel comfortable. Like that, I can't stress that enough, right? There are a lot of photographers that have stunning portfolios, but they really make people feel uncomfortable. And that's just, and like, this is what I've heard, right? And even for me, like I've had photos done by people and I walk away feeling uncomfortable, and I would not want that for my clients, and I don't want my business to run that way. And so that's why it's really important to me to infuse myself into my brand in some way. It's not like oversharing, but it's like, here are the things about me that, like, I obviously have a limit. Like I'm not going to share everything, but yeah.
Yeah, it's so important. I really want to tap into like how you say, how, you know, your personality really, it can make it or break it. Like it's all about, if you're shooting people, you have to on camera.
Let's make that
It's like such a like
all the time.
It's a terminology, like. But anyways, if you're photographing people, then you have to be okay with cracking a joke. You have to be, you know, just very warm and welcoming. And also, I've noticed that I got used to shooting actors, photographing actors. And they give actors, they're so used to a whole spectrum of emotions. So with me, it's just directing them. It's like, okay, now I like playing, you know, character and give them different characters so they can deliver, because screen actors, they're so subtle, but if you snap the picture at the right moment, the picture says it all. The headshot says it all. So I just give them directions, and then you go into a wedding setting and you might be shooting people who are just not comfortable in front of the camera, and then now it's their wedding day and they have to, you know, pose and look natural in front of the camera, so they end up with a great wedding portfolio that they can, you know, look back on years and years down the line. So if you don't have, you know, that very nice personality that makes people feel very comfortable in front of the camera, you're in a bit of a pickle. So like I've really noticed that after photographing actors for so long and it being such a seamless experience, diving into a wedding and be like, wow, I really have to bring out a whole spectrum of my personality just to help them relax.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, actors are so models and actors. It's great to work with them because it's way less work for me, right?
Yeah, and it's more collaborative. It's more collaborative. Yeah. You'd be like, you kind of, you both of you are creative. Maybe that's why I also prefer that kind of work, even though I like the idea of, you know, being a part of people's, you know, creating their memories with them. But then, yeah, you really have to be the right person for it. That's what I believe. And I'm really happy that you found it, because you are needed. People are getting married and getting engaged and having maternity photos all the time. And that's something, when they have someone like you to rely on and trust and know that they're going to end up with a great result, that's just like, I wish you were here and did my maternity photos.
I wish so too. I know it's so hard. This is the hardest part about having Instagram friends.
I know,
like they're all over the world, and I'm like, but I can't take your photo, and it makes me so sad because I love to take photos, especially for people I really know and like admire too. I'm like, oh, like it's just, I feel it's an honor, honestly, just to be able to work with you and like give that to you, because I feel it is also a gift, right? To have those memories.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So before we wrap up, I would love to know if you have any, just one piece of advice to a person, maybe they're watching, maybe like very interested in photography, starting their own photography business. What would the number one advice be for them from you?
I would say, okay, definitely, like it's easier said than done, but like, don't listen to what people tell you are supposed to do, because everyone has an opinion about what you were supposed to do to get to like where you want to be. Define what success is for you, because not everyone is after the same, like, I want like to make a 6-figure business and I want millions of Instagram followers, which is like what we're taught like success is, right? Like, and that is success to some people, of course.
To some, yeah.
But I think I've never aspired to be like, to like millions of like social media fans. Like I've never aspired to that. And it doesn't, I also think that's another misconception, right? Like if you have more fans and followers, that your business is technically more successful, financially speaking. That's not the case at all, right? Some people are just very, very, very good at making it seem like that. So I would just say, do your own thing and like, don't feel like, define success for you and don't feel like you have to hustle and kill yourself and work so hard before, you know, like to like define yourself as successful. Like just working all the time versus like intentionally doing what you should be doing to grow the business you want. Those are two different things. For sure.
And there's a difference. You could be working very hard on things that are meaningless, that seem important, but they're not actually moving the needle in your business. But you could be like, you know, just working yourself into the ground doing them. And I've definitely done that before as well in my business.
Yeah, so have I.
Yeah, but the thing is, you need to focus on important things and get the important things done that will actually help your business grow. Other things, they can be either delayed or they can be outsourced, or, you know, you can just, you know, get back to them or not at all. Maybe you don't even need to do them at all. Maybe you don't need to color code your entire system that'll take you 4 freaking hours. Maybe you just... well,
if you want to color code from the beginning as you go, that's way easier than coming back to and be like, oh no, I actually have to do this before I can move on, right? That's like also like start with the right systems. Like don't be afraid to invest in like the right systems that help you move the needle like where it makes sense. For me, when I got my CRM, that was when like everything changed because I could automate almost all of it. So I could step away from my business for like a week. And like emails are still being sent, clients are getting the information they need, but I'm not having to like manually click every button, right? Because I've already defined that workflow and I've already written all those emails, but now it's just like, it's personalizing it for me. It's sending it to them when they should be receiving it. And it's just so much easier.
That is very smart. And especially if you're in a service business, like sometimes you can automate things. You can automate things that make your life easier and more streamlined and less stressful, honestly. Yeah. Well, you've been doing it for a decade, and I really appreciate the advice you've given us. It's really valuable. I really love watching, you know, your community grow. I love seeing your work. It's just so... like when I look at your work, I know it's you, and you know what I mean by that. It's just you are all over your work, and that's what makes it so unique and special and inspiring. I'm really happy we got to do this, and I'm really excited to, you know, share this with my community. It's gonna go on the YouTube channel. It's gonna go on the podcast. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and it was wonderful. It
was so wonderful to speak to you too, and thank you for reaching out. And I know, and thank you for following up too, because we all got so busy. So I really, really look forward to also hearing this and like connecting with you again, because I was like thinking about when you and I first connected on Instagram, and I couldn't remember, but I'm like, it's for sure at least been 5 years, like at least.
It's been ages. It's been ages, honestly.
Yes. And I love your content. You put out such helpful things especially for entrepreneurs, and I love your energy. It's so great.
Oh, thank you so much. Before I let you run away, can you tell people where they can find you?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram at photos by Emma and then H. So Emma's written E-M-M-A-H, and the H is actually for my last name. It's not how my name is spelled. Didn't think that one through. And then my website is photographybyemma.ca, and and all of my links are on there as well. And
I will also link everything related to Emma in the description below, so I'll make it easy for you guys. Thank you so much. You have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
All right, chat soon. Thank you so much.
If you found value in this video, make sure you leave me a thumbs up, comment below, let me know, share this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.